Hey guys, welcome back. This is ChosenArchitect, and today we are going to be setting up automation, and that's what this whole room you see behind me is going to be all about. So I hope you guys are ready. So here we are again, back in All the Mods 3, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about what I'm doing here. I need to expand our base, and the best way to do so is to probably go directly underground. So that's what I've done. As you can see, this is our main base section, which is absolutely beautiful. But underground, I think every Minecrafter, every modded Minecrafter needs their underground base where they could have all of their automated machinery. So that way, for one thing, it's out of view, so it kind of helps with FPS there. Because the less things you have to render on screen, the better. By the way, this is funny. Stoop. And sometimes it spawns these guys. So yeah, the less things you have on screen, the better sometimes. So having all your automation underground is a pretty good choice. But I don't like my underground base to just be stone walls and a bunch of ore and everything. I love to decorate and I love to make things look nice. So what I've done here is I have these walls that go up top about six tall, pretty tall for these rooms. And they're just enough height that my elevators will work. As you can see, I had to mine down to test where to put these. And I just mined them out by hand. I probably should have used a better tool such as the builder. That probably would have been a lot easier. And I did take these 4 wide. I probably should have done 5 wide, but you know, I don't really mind. These are 13 by 13 rooms if you're wanting to know the dimensions of this. So 13 by 13 rooms with 4 by 3 hallways that lead into each one. And of course, there's going to be cabling that are going to be tucked in these walls. So you do need to have at least some sort of like wall thickness in here, and that should give me totally enough. Now, when it comes to how I'm designing these walls, as of right now in here, I started playing around with the Xtones, and Xtones is a really cool mod. Let's go ahead and take a look at Xtones. I've already made a few of them, but to make these Xtone blocks, what you need is to make Xtone tiles, which is just stone and slabs, and sort of combine them. After that, you can chisel them to make them into all of these different patterns. And from within those patterns, you can change the color of them. So by default, I don't know if it was automatically removed, but I had to go into the options controls and type in Xtones category and search inventory for item. No, we're looking for cycle tones, Xtones, and I had to just set it to left shift. That's what it normally is set to, but you can change it to any key. But what you do is you hold down left shift and you use your scroll wheel. And you can see that the colors are changing on these blocks. And of course, you can scroll them all the way back to default. So yeah, you have to do this for each one. You see the number changes. There's 16 total colors, and you'll get every different color variant. And it all depends on what type of tone this is. You can see we can go with all kinds of different ones. They all have some really interesting names, but some of them do some really interesting things to your vision that I noticed. And some ones that really stick out to me is the Zest, this one right here. This one in particular does some really cool things. Like if I have some really bright colors and they're all connected together, it does some weird things with your eyes, the way that these things are set up, that it almost looks holographic, right? Whenever you start to move around and look at different places, it's almost as if it's holographic because of, if you guys didn't know, there's a default sort of vignette or like shading on the edges of your screen in Minecraft when you're in survival. There's like sort of a vignette there, and that's what kind of gives you that offset. It even happens on these. You can kind of see the vignette almost as we're looking. You can kind of see how it gets darker, but that's just sort of an effect that these give off, which I think is kind of cool to use. So I'm sort of going with a pattern. I don't think I'm going to continue the same thing, but let's talk about how the swapping wand works. So I was planning on making some factory blocks with chisel to give this sort of a factory vibe on the floor. I thought that would be sort of a good idea to give it is a factory, you know, so might as well give it some factory looks to it. To do that, we need to make some factory blocks. And so you can just click on any of the factory blocks. It's going to give you the recipe right here on this factory block, the dotted rusty plate. And so we're going to need to make a few of these. I'm not going to keep it this specific one though, because we're going to look for a floor. So there is a type, the factory, the slightly rusted plate is a good floor to go with. Also, just the brown ones are also good as well. I'm going to go with just this for right now, as I really like the way this looks. And I'm going to go ahead and start by placing this down. And this is where your other wand could come in handy, the swapping wand. So I can just right click or shift right click on the block I want to select. And if you do this, you can also place one in your offhand. And so whatever's in your offhand will select, but I end up accidentally clicking this. So I usually like to leave it on a selected block. And then I set my hotkey for this to the equals key, so you can change the mode. And so then I'm gonna change this to a 3x3. And what I can do is I can go in here and I can just automatically place these blocks down. Of course, for this, you could use a wand if you wanted to. I have no idea where that advancement come from, but I guess come from something. But these are connected blocks, so you got to be careful sometimes when using this wand. But we're going to change this up a little bit. We're not just going to leave it like this. I'm actually going to dig out the center because I want to try out some other blocks that we can use for this. But I think for right now, this is going to be perfect. These side walls too, I'm going to also change up a little bit. And we're going to get this going, and we're going to start some automation today. That's the plan. So I'll meet you guys in a second. So here we are, underground base complete. No, I'm just kidding. This is the underground of the underground, because of course we're also going to need a sub base where we're going to route all of our cables to keep them kind of hidden. I still want to keep this underground area kind of nice looking. So it is going to sort of clean up our above area stuff even more. We're going to move our automation down here. This is going to make my life a little bit easier. And you can see this right here. This is a refined storage conduit. Pretty cool, because we can actually now add our power lines into here. So I went ahead and put an advanced power cell here, so that way we can get an output of 20,000. I am going to run some vibrant vibrant power cables through here. And what this is going to allow us to do is we're going to be able to get some power storage set up. Power storage might actually go even further down here. So we're going to basically be storing up tons of power, and then we'll hook up another advanced power cell potentially, or having a cable hook up to this thing, because this can accept and can receive power, can accept and send power per side. So you can set that with a smart wrench. You have to use a smart wrench on it. That is the only thing that will work. So with this cable, let's go ahead and take a look at the above ground. I know that's what you guys are all here for. This part is going to be really ugly. This is completely hidden, so the downstairs area is going to be completely a mess. But above, we have this beautiful place. So what I went ahead and done is I made some slime channels, because I thought it would look really cool to have like this like sewer thing going through the bottom, since we are underground. And I put a lamp here to kind of add some extra light. And then of course I have my lovely silver illumination dust, or whatever you want to call this, that is coming from my illumination wand. You can actually change the color of this. So I use gray dye and it turns it silver, which is a really cool color. But yeah, it kind of leads into here, and I kind of went with this flat base design. There's really nothing exciting going on these walls. That's because we're probably going to put machines in them. So there's no reason to have these things looking really nice when you're going to have potentially machines in the wall just doing work so we can see them. So now they have this, let's start getting some machines in here and start getting some automation done. Like I said, I went ahead and basically wirelessly have my RF storage down here. So that way we can now, like I said, move all the stuff. I don't know which one. There we go. This one. I don't know which one does that. But as you can see, we now have all this down here. And I get to start hooking things up, including getting some mass automation set up. I think that's going to be some of the things I'm going to work on here soon. We need to get a wall, basically, almost like a wall, or you can make a cube of just automation units. I think I'm going to have them coming up through the floor here. And we're going to just have one room is just going to be just dedicated to things that we can automate within refined storage. So let's go ahead and do that. So inside my setup, I went ahead and got myself some crafters here. I plan on having these stacked 2 more high. So I guess I need 16 more crafters, but we have 16 right here. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to rotate these. We can take a wrench from refined storage and just hold shift. And I want to have these all facing just downward. It doesn't matter, but this is for my own personal taste. It's just to have them all facing in a similar direction. Now, the direction of these things do matter, however, when we start to get in other automations, which we're going to work on here in a second. And we're actually going to do it inside this room. That's at least my plan, is to do it in this room. We're going to actually have some machines that are going to be automating back here. But this is just our regular standard, just crafting in a crafting table or crafting in your inventory sort of deal right here is what these are going to be good for. And we're going to need a few of them because there's just a lot of crafting recipes. And there's a lot of things I want to automate. Now, underneath, I just have routed my cables. And all we have to do is just hook up the very bottom. And these guys will power themselves, of course, if you remember that. And the more of these we have, the more complicated or the more power these things are going to use. Of course, each one of these crafters requires some power, but we should be producing a good enough amount of power for now. Now, when it comes to getting our other automation set up, now, I want to kind of set up automation for refined storage. I think this is going to be a good option, is to have stuff for refined storage ready to go. To do that, we need to automate each one of these processors, including having some slime. Now, slime is something that we don't have automated really right now, but I think if we kind of take a look, slime, I think you have to specifically have some of the slime chunks for this. And we should be able to make them. They're tier 2. And it'd probably be good to go ahead and get these done. We need tier 1 mob chunks. So let's take a look at our mob chunks. Mob chunks. We have a few tier 1s. We're going to need 4 of them. And we're just going to craft it with some of this. There we go. Upgrade these to tier 2. And I guess we're just going to use some slime. I'm going to have to uncraft some of this. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make this. This is just going to be one of those steps that we have to automate. This will be a slime chunk. I'm sure we're going to need 4 of them. And then slime. So, slime seed. Yep. Very, very simple. And we can take a look at our seeds. That's what I love about this auto crafting, is I can just select it. Boom. And we have a new seed. So, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the remaining things that are left for automation. You can see I'm just adding to the lists of things that are going to just over time produce or be produced. And slime is one of those things that we definitely need. And that'll just make it easier. Alright, so, like I was talking about, refined storage. We need to automate each one of these processors. That's going to be our main goal, is to have the processors made up. I already got these quartz-rich seeds done. Everything else is just going to be basically waiting for the processors to be automated. And we're going to set that up here in a second. So here we have some machines that I want to get automated in this room. Like I said, this is the room I want to kind of keep things automated in. We have your basic, just plain Jane redstone furnace. And over here, we also have a pulverizer. Both are basic. And then we also have a alloy smelter over here, which is going to be necessary. And we need to link all these things together and hook them up so that way we can use them for some actual crafting purposes. So I went ahead and got a lot of things ready. These guys are ready to be upgraded. We have kits. We have all the kits right here, and I should be able to combine these like so to make them easy to just slap on. And then we also have some augments, because you want these guys to be upgraded to run as fast as possible. So bam, 1, 2, 3, 4. These will accept 4 different augments. We do need to, however, hook power to them, which we will do here in a second. And we also need some more refined storage cables. I think those, we were just waiting on processors. But for right now, we should be pretty much ready to go. So a very simple setup for these guys would be to, let's just say, we're going to have this thing turned. This is going to be our pulverizer. Let's place this guy back here for right now. Place one back here, and we'll place another one back here. Very simple. This is facing in the right direction, so that's what we want. We want the crafter to be facing into the alloy smelter. So we need to get these to rotate, so that way they are facing into their correspondent machine. So just like that, we overshot it. So there we go. And you may think, oh, I'm done. That's it, right? Well, we also need an importer. We need to pull the items out to go back into the system. So to do that, it's probably best to kind of have a little cable system like so. I might actually even recommend not using a conduit for this, as this actually doesn't look that great. So maybe we just use some cable from the mod, some of its own cable, and I think that looks a little bit better. So again, importer, there we go. That's just going to import the items directly back into our system, and that's what we want. Now, configuring the machines, we're going to have to do that as well. Let's go ahead and get the bottom section set up, and that's going to be power. We need to power these things. So we should be able to just make ourselves a little hole down here to get down into this area. And this is where our power conduits come in handy. The good part about conduits, of course, you can place them in multiple blocks together with multiple cables, which is the good part about this. So yeah, we should be able to get power going pretty much anywhere we want now. This is all hooked up. We're just going to run this along, and we'll even take it all the way up here. Perfect. So this should allow us to sort of get in here, get energy hooked up to the bottom of these guys, but not only get energy hooked to the bottom, because that's not the only part. I need to remove the jump off of this. I should never put that on there. We need to get to this block here, which is going to allow us to access the other machine. So there we go. And what we're going to do here is just use our refined storage conduit. So of course, refined storage conduit, we'll drop that down, and then we're going to bring up our power, and our power is going to connect there, and that's going to start filling with power. Same goes for this. We're going to extend this. Not there. Wrong side. Extend this. It's going to go up and back one more block. It can touch this one. It's not a big deal if it is. But the big part is that we're going to have power hooked to this. Like that. And now that should be getting power. Same goes for this side. We just need to run one power cable up. We need to break this back block. Put that back there. Just like that. And this should now be connected. I believe. It's not blue like the rest of them, so I think I have a connection that's missing somewhere. Back here. I need a connector block that's back. So now it's on. Now everything's connected. Everything has power. And we can go ahead and close this stuff up. Looky there. Very fancy. If you want to expand on this, of course, you can add more crafters to the sides of these. That would give you more slots for your stuff. Or there's another possibility, or another thing that you can do, is you can use a buffer chest. So you can take a chest, and you could technically surround this chest with these crafters instead of surrounding this block. And then what you would do is you would just face these into the chest, and this actually will dump items into the chest. So that's a good thing you can do there, if you guys are new to that. So we're going to go ahead and get this set up. And what are we going to use these things for? Well, these can be used for ore processing. If, say we need some copper, right? Let's go ahead and just take or iron. We always use iron. So let's go over to our pattern grid here, where we are going to make some patterns. I can actually go ahead and throw some stuff out now that we have this set up. And we are going to make just our plain old iron. Well, iron comes in a form which is iron ore. And that gets converted into iron. So actually, let's do this. Let's go down here real quick. We almost forgot to do one important step, and that is to configure these sides. We do need to do this first. You can hold Shift and click the center, and that will clear the whole thing. What we need to do is have the furnace set to the input in the back, which I think this sets it to the back. This right here. And then this needs to be our output, which is to the top. Our input set to the back, and we'll set auto to automatically input, and it'll automatically accept it. These will also, I believe, hold a buffer. So if you like craft 64 items and only 32 can fit in the machine, it'll hold the remaining 32 until it's ready to go in. I believe that's how it works. So this should be exactly how it's set up. You have your input in the back, and then right here is going to be the output on the top. Can't really see it because we have our things blocking it. But it's going to be the same for this, input and output. Now this one has a multi-output, so we're going to make sure we output everything that goes in here, including the little excess that we might get. And then for this one, We'll set it, make sure it's set to alloys only because it's going to be an alloy smelter. And then we'll configure the back. This one's a little bit easier to configure because we can see. And that'll be set to pull. And this will be set to push out our remaining stuff. So those are pretty simple. So now that we have them set up, let's go back up here to our pattern grid. And we're going to look at processing. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be dealing with processing. All right. So iron, for example. Not add iron, just iron. Or we can even do it in here, iron. We can take a look at the machines that we're going to be putting it through because that's kind of important as well. So to get iron, we're going to process it via some ore. Now, smelting is going to be the same for the redstone smelter, like the redstone furnace here. As you can see, if we do the ore or crushed iron ore or whatever we're planning on doing, we're going to get that remaining output. But say we went to iron right now. We have some ore. We're going to process this ore. But we're going to process it inside of our pulverizer. It says we're going to be guaranteed 2, and the remaining is just 10% nickel. So, if we really wanted to get nickel this way, which I'm not going to set that up, we could do 10 iron ore would equal 1 nickel, right? Because that would be how you could set this process up as well. If you really needed nickel that bad, you can say, all right, it's going to process iron ore, it's going to process 10 of them. That should guarantee at least 1. It should. But we know here that we're going to need 2 iron for sure. So we could say, all right, we're going to need some iron dust. I don't know if we have any iron, pulverized iron. We do have some pulverized iron. So you are going to need some of this. So what we're going to say is 1 iron ore equals 2 pulverized iron. We're going to make that pattern. Awesome. So this is going to go in our pulverizer. Now we need to clear this and go, okay, well, 1 pulverized iron equals 1 iron ingot. We're going to create that. That's going to tell us that, okay, so if we're going to make iron right now, it's going to pulverize some iron ore really quickly, and then it's going to turn that iron into iron ingots. So this is how we set up these processes, and it has to be set under the processing setting. And all we got to do to place these in here is you can either go here via the crafter here, which tells you it's connected to a pulverizer, or we can go up top here and go to our crafting monitor, or actually there's a pattern monitor as well. We don't have the pattern monitor. It'd probably be best if we did have the pattern monitor, to be honest. Let's get rid of that guy. But we'll just set it up down here. I should have shown that. So yeah, the pulverizer, remember we set that recipe up. That's going to do this one right here. And then this one right here is going to show us the regular iron. And now we should be able to turn this on. Let's go ahead and look up iron. And I think you hold Control and Shift at the same time and click on iron, which we actually have no iron in our inventory. And say we're going to do 64. We'll start this up. It'll say there's available. Of course, right now it's going to use up all of that. So let's go ahead and let's say 320. So the pulverizer is going to kick up. This is actually going to retain what's in there. Right? And then over here is just cooking up some iron, and it's being thrown directly in the importer. That is how simple that is. Now, the only other thing we have left to do is our alloys. And alloys are a little bit different. So some major alloys that we use, man. Let's look at getting up to vibrant capacitors. So, Ender.io, we have our energetic alloy, which is something we're definitely going to need through this. That's going to be redstone, gold, and glowstone. So that's what we're going to have to get. We're going to have to get those items. Redstone, gold. We have to manually set these up, but these saves us so much time in the end. And glowstone. We're also going to need the product, kind of. We might not need the product. Let's look at the crafting pattern grid. Make sure we're still under processing. We go under energetic alloy. We might be able to automatically input this. So look at this. We can actually hit this button, and that's going to automatically throw the items in for us. And then we just hit create. I mean, it is that easy. We don't even need to pull the items out if we don't want to. It has never been so easy, guys, to set up auto crafting, especially with refined storage. It makes it so easy. A beginner can do it. Like it's just literally not an issue at all. So if we take this, we throw this in here, this is going to automatically process that. So energetic, like I said, you can hold Control and Shift and click, and that's going to force the crafting regardless if we need to craft it or not. I'm going to say 64, start, and that should throw all of our items in there. And looky there, it's automatically starting to process our stuff. So the only thing we really need to do, this is just going to be our processing, not our processing room, but our auto crafting room. However, we are going to need to set up a processing area to process our ores. I want these to be specific tasks, that things that need to be cooked up. And of course, this is probably going to be replaced with a chest. And so we'll have multiple crafters on this, on a chest that can just automatically pull them in. That way we have a kind of a buffer there, or a crate or something like that. But we do need, I think we're going to work on the next couple of episodes. We're going to be focusing mainly on getting ore automation processing started. And it's going to be quite a process. These guys are just your standard crafters, so we can just craft anything like sticks, wood, pretty much anything. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you learned a little bit of something about auto crafting and how to get it all set up. And I hope you enjoyed this beautiful room that I've set up for all of our down and dirty auto crafting stuff that we're gonna have to be doing. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to click that like button if you haven't already. Also click that subscribe button. Guys, that subscribe button is sitting there down at the bottom, just looking all lonely because you haven't clicked it yet. Well, believe me, you're missing out if you haven't clicked it. Guys, I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.